From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks, presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, everybody. Craig Sherwood here with you, and we have the band back together again. Of course, that would be Craig Durling.
Evening, everybody. Good to be back.
And, of course, Ross Benson.
Well, you know, I got this nice new hat, and everybody says that, and I never talk and so forth. I got to take these off for 1 second.
Talk, don't talk.
I was afraid to have hat hair, wearing a hat, so.
You must have left it in there.
Oh, there's no hair.
No, nothing in there.
Oh, well. How are you this week, troops?
Good.
Yep.
Good to be
very
back.
good.
Good to be back.
Greg, it's good to have Greg.
Hey,
Shirley,
remember me?
welcome back.
It hasn't been quite that long.
Your passport's still good in town?
Actually, I just sent it out to be renewed, so nope, it's not good at the moment.
Do you need to show a passport to go to Canada?
Canada.
Yes.
I had to get a Canada. When my kid got married, I had to get a passport. And my granddaughters, one of them didn't have her last trip. It expired, and she had to stay here, and Mom went.
Some countries, and this for the travelers out there, some countries have a rule where it has to be valid for the next 6 months from the day you're going to leave that country, or they won't accept it. They won't let you in. Canada is not one of those, but if you're traveling abroad, make sure that if you have an expiration date on your passport within the next 6 months or so.
That brings up a great topic. Passport. Craig, when's the last time you got your passport?
In 2021.
Oh,
2 years ago. I needed it for a cruise and got on the cruise. We went to Mexico and found out you didn't need a passport.
Well, we're talking about.
But Suzette Mullins, it was funny. I found out the last second I was going and went to Suzette Mullins and said, hey, I need this quick. She expedited everything. Her staff was amazing.
Her city clerk is amazing.
I got it literally within 5 weeks after applying for it.
That reminds me, I have to cancel my appointment with the city clerk because I made an appointment to do it at the city clerk's office and ended up just doing it by mail myself rather than wait the 2 weeks for the appointment. So I have to go cancel it now.
So the reason we were talking about trips, because we're always on a trip here at the week that was, the week that will be. Craig Durling, we are glad to have you back in studio. You did go on a excursion,
an excursion, an adventure.
Yeah, I think somebody needs their chiclet.
Thank you very much. That's what.
All right, let me get a close up here.
Wait a minute. We got
Drum roll.
Somebody bring him his chiclet, please.
Okay.
There it is.
Got it. It's great.
Yes, Lurch, bring him his chiclet, please.
Smile a mother could love.
The whole family has that. My granddaughters, my son had it. But, Craig, you just came back from an amazing trip.
Pretty good.
I have seen some pictures that I don't think I have ever seen except in National Geographic.
You haven't seen pictures from me like this ever.
That's true. Well, I don't think everybody knows. You are a man of many talents. We not only you're our voice on our podcast and a professional voice.
Voice, one of many.
One of many. You are a DJ. You are a retired law enforcement officer, and on top of it, you and I know each other as photographers.
That's how we came to meet many, many moons ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
give or take.
And you just came back from a trip, and your pictures are friggin' amazing.
I said friggin'.
I had to say friggin' because you were in friggin' cold weather.
It was cold.
Where were you?
I was on a photo expedition up in northern Manitoba, Canada, on the shores of Hudson Bay in a town called Churchill. You may have heard of that. It's known as the polar bear capital of the world.
You got to kiss polar bears.
Almost. You've seen pictures of it sniffing the bottom of my boot through the great.
You were within an inch of that bear's nose.
Yeah. These things have paws the size of a dinner plate. Or a hubcap for those that remember hubcaps.
A hubcap?
Hubcaps. But
now I go down to Mexico and find some. They're on the borderline waiting for you to get them.
Yeah, it was a great trip. Spent a week out on the what's known as the Tundra Buggy Lodge. And the outfit we did it through is called, shout out to Frontiers North Adventures, anybody that wants to look it up. But you actually leave Churchill and you spend the week out on the ice with the bears.
Wow.
In what's called the Tundra Buggy Lodge. And it's basically kind of a train on big tires. And it's out there, and they have bunkhouses. There's a dining room and a lounge in there, and amazing staff, amazing food. And our guides, we would go out every day on the Tundra Buggies. Those were our shooting platforms for the day. Our feet didn't touch terra firma for a week because that belongs to the bears. And we photographed bears for the week, polar bears.
You have pictures of bears, foxes,
Yeah.
baby bears.
Baby cubs. Well,
Cubs,
that's what I always go for. I want to see
Maybe
the
bears
cubs.
would be a cub. Yes, that's
I want to see the cubs playing, rolling around, and all that. And they're born in late winter, January, February. So the cubs we saw were 10, 11 months old. So they're
were
on the
big.
bigger, but they're still smaller than mom. But these things, when you get as close as we got to them, they're the size of a car. And like I said, just their paws are the size of a hubcap. Very intimidating, but when it's just you and them and a little metal grate between you because they're now under your platform, standing on their hind feet, about 11 feet tall,
a see-through middle
pressing
platform.
their nose to the bottom of your boot through the metal grate and sniffing, that's quite an experience right there. That's
Where
quite an
can people
experience.
see some of your art?
Trickling. My least favorite part of photography is the editing part, the post processing. I took about 4,000 images. Took some video too that I'll sift through, but took about 4,000 pictures over the 4 or 5 days we were there, and I'm now kind of slowly going through them, editing.
People
them.
I don't think realize, for professional photographers, we just don't shoot picture and put it up. Every picture you have to work.
Yeah.
It's either the contrast, the sharpness. There's a lot of things.
Yeah,
and
we're
there's
shooting
a
raw,
ton of-
so
Wait a second.
you have to edit.
You don't take a picture with your cell phone and just push send? I mean,
actually
there's
took-
actually
I-
a work to be a professional photographer?
I actually took a lot of pictures and video with my cell phone because there were many times when the bears were so close to us. We're looking down on them, and that's not really a usable photograph, professionally speaking. So I had my phone out recording video, and if you look at putting some up on my Facebook, eventually it'll be on my website. But if you go to Craig Durling Photo, at Craig Durling Photo on Instagram, that's where I'm posting as I go through it and edit and cull through the images I have. That's where I'm putting them up.
Well,
So
you
go
will
check
see
'em out.
amazing
And
art.
give me a follow and like them too.
Yeah, I've known Craig's work. He's gone up to Alaska, and he caught bears chasing salmon.
I didn't catch them. I let them go.
You have been in other places. You shoot birds. You shoot a lot of things.
In Africa
Photograph,
last
I
summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm really like I said, he has a great eye for photography. Look at a couple of his pictures. Maybe he'll lend us a couple for our video part of this. We might even do a podcast on photography, which we did
Well, we've done that before, haven't we?
20 years ago.
No, not that. I don't know if it was that long ago. We used to do. It's actually on Spotify. If anybody looks up Fireground Action Photography, the podcast on Spotify, that'll be the 60 episodes that Ross and I did together on the art of fire or emergency services photography.
That's
And I
right.
learned everything I know from you, this guy over here, back
Well,
in the
thanks.
film days.
Well, folks, I'll throw it back to Craig Sherwood, who will lead us into the show. We took a little extra time this week because it is a holiday week, and our show we did meet for our meeting before the show tonight, and our meeting or even our dinner was short.
Yeah.
So the show's short, so we figured you guys can listen to Craig talk about
Once again, we have a shout out to who? To Heather.
Heather.
Heather and Patty's,
Heather
and of
and
course
George.
and George the owner, who once again treated us to a magnificent dessert.
That
was
And we
very
saw
nice of
we
him.
saw him with a leaf blower as we
Yes,
walked
he did.
out.
Well, you know what? People don't realize when you own a restaurant, you just don't sit there and collect money and count it. If you have a successful restaurant, which I'm sure Ross can tell you from dealing with tequilas and with Hill Street, that you're spending a lot of time as an owner doing the little things to make sure that restaurant is perfect. And George is out there with his leaf blower, cleaning up after a night. But I'll tell you what, once again, the food at Patty's.
Wait a minute,
Fantastic.
not only dinner, Craig. How was your lunch today?
That's right. you
Yeah,
had
I
lunch
did. I
there?
had lunch there at Patty's today too because I had business at the post office, which is right behind it. But George, on our way out, said he was going to be there back at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning to start getting ready for the holiday stuff.
Cooking turkeys,
So,
he said.
the job never ends for the owner of a good restaurant.
Absolutely.
So where are we, Craig?
Well, we're
not in the media district.
We're not in the media district.
come to learn.
We've learned that by 2 blocks. I guess, we're between Toluca Lake and the media district, so we're just in an area of Burbank that just doesn't exist, I guess. So let's go back to last Tuesday. Now we're going to kind of do something a little different here. We're going to tie them in together. The last Tuesday was a city council meeting, and on Thursday was a school board meeting.
Wait a minute. How could they do that?
Oh, exactly. How can they do that?
Or did they?
Yeah. So the city for months and months and months had a plan to have a joint meeting with the school board on Tuesday. And all of a sudden, in fact, we had our last show, we even talked about the fact that the meeting adjourned and said, we will see you next week in the community services building. Don't show up to city council. And then we talked about, well, wait a second here. On the agenda now, it says go to city council. What's going on? And so what basically happened, and it's so strange how they bring this stuff up. It was brought up that the school board at the city council meeting was brought up. The school board president had canceled the meeting, said we're not going to show up because they had a problem with the agenda, and our city council.
They kept using the word incubator.
Our city council, because transparency is not,
Incubator?
I guess.
Incubator.
Yeah, so our city council, who is actually says they can say the word transparent and spell it 25 different times, but they sure can't be transparent, kept saying, well, there was an issue with, an incubator. When the issue was about having,
proclamation or a resolution.
No, they wanted to have an agenda item about inclusion. It was about inclusion, which we found out on Thursday. So why they wouldn't tell the public what the issue was, once again, I don't understand. But they said, there were issues and they couldn't get things together. And then we're going to bounce back and forth here. So we're going to bounce over to Thursday and the school board meeting.
Like a tennis match, okay.
So on the school board meeting, which I think is run a lot looser than city meetings because they don't seem to have the same way of doing things, starting with one of our school board members who refuses to stand up to the Pledge of Allegiance because she's protesting something in New Mexico. Yeah, I wonder. I got a question. If a kid in school said, "I'm not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance because I'm protesting the way that they're treating the Palestinians right now," what would happen then? Would that create just a firestorm? I mean, if you're going to not do that for one reason, then somebody else can have their reason too. And now all of a sudden, I don't know, an elected official would not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ross, you told me, which I did not see, that she actually responded to my editorial on Facebook. I don't know.
I think it was on. It was one of those social media.
Okay, I don't look at it. The first I've even heard of it. You know what? I couldn't care less. Anybody that can't respect, the Pledge of Allegiance in our country because they want to protest something that's not even a local issue.
Well, people need to understand we don't,
she has the right to protest. I understand that. She has that right.
You know what? We also have put
so did
on
Colin
our
Kaepernick, and his career got destroyed.
Yeah. But there's also a thing called leadership, too.
Well, but there's a way to, put it on social media. A lot of people I see on Facebook, they want to talk about something and get, people on their side, put it on there. We have a method. It's called write a letter to the editor. Yeah. We run every letter that we get.
Whether I like it or not.
And we all see it. And maybe, it does say in our fine print, write us a letter to the editor instead.
Yeah, I never saw but then I don't look at Facebook because it's just a bitch session usually on that thing. So anyhow, I stay. My thing is X. I stay with the X. Yeah, we call it Twitter in the real world, but
that X likes my view. I can tell you that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you keep doing funny stuff over there, so I want the camera loves you tonight.
Yes, the camera.
Anyhow, watch the video version.
Let me get back to what we're saying. So then our school board president gets on.
This was it
on Thursday. Our school board president because they didn't show up to Tuesday's meeting, so nobody talked there. So our school board president Steve Ferguson gets up on Thursday and goes off on the city staff, especially Justin Hess. Now, I'm sorry. I've dealt with Justin Hess for 20 years. Ross, you too, he's been with the city 25 years.
And for the listeners, who is Justin Hess?
Justin Hess is a city manager. And in Burbank, the city manager runs the city. The city council hires a city attorney and a city manager. The city manager then runs the city, hires all the department heads and everything else, runs the day-to-day operations.
He's the one that makes the decisions.
So,
well, and all the heads of the department typically work for the city manager. They don't work for the city council.
Right.
Right. So he came out and said Justin Hess shot down his agenda item for inclusion. The mayor tried to work it out where they did a proclamation, said we can put it on a future meeting and do it then. And Steve Ferguson was not going to have anything to do with that. He wanted to be on the agenda now because he was the board president for 2 more months and wants it during his term. He now wants the city council to call a special meeting so they can talk about inclusion. It just sounds like a personal agenda. And he kept saying things such as, this is terrible. We've canceled it. This is for the kiddos. Well, you know what was for the kiddos? School security. That's for the kiddos. School resource officers. That's for the kiddos. I guess those issues were important. You couldn't just say, you know what? I get it. We can wait till the next joint meeting. In fact, it's funny. He says how well they work together all the time. Yet the city council meeting, which he says he watched 20 times, city council members couldn't remember the last time they really worked with the school district at all at anything until somebody brought up, didn't you do a walkthrough with them? The city council doesn't have the same great memories as the school board does, as far as, they're working well together. I'm
really
sorry.
funny.
Let me get finish my thought on Justin Hess, though. We've dealt with Justin Hess a lot of times as a news organization. Justin Hess has always basically bent backwards to assist us, to help us, to send us information, to respond anytime we send him an email or call him. He's always there. He calls back. He doesn't send a member of his staff to do it. He does it personally. On a personal note, I lost my dog during the pandemic. He passed away. I was pretty heartbroken, but I wanted to get another dog and tried to go to the Burbank Animal Shelter, and they were closed for the pandemic. Okay, I get it. I sent Justin Hess a note, say, hey, any idea when you... He sent me back an email a week later and says, hey, we've got a thing where we can probably, help you out. And now I already had got another dog by then. We got dogs into our lives at that time. But the point is that a week later, he still thought about that and sent me a personal email to try to help. That's the kind of person Justin Hess is, a very caring, a thoughtful, and resourceful person. And I know, Ross, you've dealt with him many more times than I have, and I don't think he's ever done something to you that would be looked as a negative type incantation.
Very, very true. And what gets me, how Burbank runs their government, how things are put on the agenda.
Very different.
Versus how the school district does it. Yes, very, very different. And that is fine. A lot of people think that they work hand in hand. I do know for a fact when Matt Hill was superintendent, he could call Justin anytime. And I guarantee our new superintendent has that same working relationship.
Probably absolutely.
You have to.
Yeah.
God forbid something happens.
And they want to work together.
Yes, they do. But both boards operate differently. One needs to understand how the other one brings on resolutions and so forth. I don't see where I get it as a personal item for Steve Ferguson. Why did he get it done before his term is done? But that's not how Burbank can just drop anything and let's put it on. So what they said, they're going to, I don't know where it got left.
There was a wording in the agenda the way he wanted it. That wasn't, the city said, we have a city attorney that actually reviews things. And as an example, Joel Schlossman, who comes up and makes his points at the school board meeting, also criticized Emily Weisberg for her not standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance again. And Steve Ferguson dressed him down during his communication and said, I'm going to talk to our attorney about you being able to talk about that. It's like, well, if you ran a meeting the way like the city does, the city has a city attorney at every meeting just for those reasons. The fact they don't even have an attorney there is also, an issue. But the point being is that he's got a right to say what he wants to say during oral communications. And Steve Ferguson says, no, you won't treat my team like that. I don't think Steve Ferguson knows the first thing about what a team is. He's never, I'm sorry, being a team player and working out for his kiddos does not mean you cancel meetings because your priestly agenda didn't get moved forward, which I'm sure. And the thing is, this is not an issue. The city council is going to say, oh no, we want to vote against inclusion. No, we don't want inclusion. No. But to say, Justin Hess was not there for his meeting on that day. He was at a city manager's conference. How dare he? He should be here doing his job and this huge issue.
But as a result, no business got taken care of.
No business. Night. Yeah, but you know what? They had 3 months to put this together. This didn't have to, this was not on the agenda forecast for 2 weeks. So they could have got, this is last minute Louis stuff, and
it's not how it works.
It's not how, especially with the city machine.
No matter what the topic.
The city's machine, because at the city thing, you have every department head there, you have every resource there, you have staff there for presentations, you have a lot going on at a city council meeting compared to a school board meeting.
And I think they need to look at the bigger picture on this, especially on this. This is how it works. This is how Burbank operates, and you're not going to change it.
And I don't even think the school district. We have a school district member who calls Bret Hart Elementary. Now, I have never in my 60 years in this city heard anybody ever call it Hart Elementary. It's always been called Bret Hart.
Funny, my granddaughter goes there, and I call it Bret Hart.
I mean,
what school do you go to?
Not the wrestler, though.
No,
it's not the wrestler.
But I just think, anybody who knows Burbank knows how the lingo of the city. And it's like, well, here's somebody who probably hasn't lived in Burbank that long, somehow got elected, never heard of her in the past, but that's fine. I'm glad she's there. I'm glad she's trying to do good work. But, at least learn how people talk about the schools. I mean, there's certain, we call, we say Stevenson. We don't say Robert Louis Stevenson, or we don't say Stevenson Elementary. We just say Stevenson. Everybody knows what we're talking about. You say Bret Hart, everybody knows what you're talking about. Right? I mean, it's when you say Hart Elementary, it's like, I had to take a beat. It's a Hart Elementary. Wait, is that a
first time if you say Hart, I think of out in Santa Clarita, but.
Well, that's what I thought of too. I was thinking of the Hart School District out there. Anyhow,
well,
I won't get into it, but my point with this is, I'm sorry. There's something, there's a problem with the school board. They're out of touch. They could have come and still had that meeting and left off the agenda and talked about school security, talked about SROs, talked about other common issues, in the schools, and not had that on the agenda and had it at a later time.
Well, a couple of years ago,
he's just not going to be the president, next time.
A couple of years ago, I remember there were heads hitting between city council member and school board members when it was talked about the trees around John Burroughs Memorial Field
on Keystone.
And I was at an event when they renamed Doris Herrera Middle School, and city council did not get invited, and they
had 2 Hispanic members very upset.
Yes, and they felt that they need to be involved. Sometimes city council members think that they need to be involved in everything in the city, but they don't. The city and the schools are separate. Even now, the schools are in the city.
It still would have been nice to send an invitation, but they actually didn't think of it. They didn't do it on purpose. They just didn't do it. And you know what? And guess what? The city council people still could have shown up. Just because you didn't get personally invited, if they put out an invitation to the public to be there, aren't they part of the public? Why can't they still go if it's important to them instead of making a bitch session about it?
Well, we'll see what goes on. I know.
But for him to call Justin Hess out and even say, well, Justin Hess can, they can light City Hall up in colors for June for Pride Appreciation. But when it comes down to doing, all of a sudden now it's just not important to him. That is not true. That is not true. And I will not have Justin Hess painted in those colors like that. I mean, I'm sorry. That's not who Justin Hess is. That's not who he intends to be. And I know Ross has his rant at the end of the show. I guess I'm going off a little on it, but I just, when I heard him blame all this on Justin Hess instead of on his own selfishness, I had a problem. Anyhow, any more thoughts?
No.
Okay.
I'm speechless.
I've thought enough for everybody. The rest of the show, I'll just sit
You've
here.
said it all.
The rest of it, I'll just sit here and be a good producer.
What buttons are you supposed to push? Oh,
Yeah. I think I pushed all the buttons I
All
can
right.
push.
Does that bring us to Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
November 15th.
Yes, we had Wednesday. Now, on Wednesday, a lot of things went on, actually. To start with, Burbank had a fantastic ceremony for Burbank's fallen officer, Matthew Pavelka, who was killed on duty exactly 20 years ago to that day. And the Burbank Police Foundation paid for a flagpole and plaque to be placed in Johnny Carson Park. And there was a tremendous ceremony there, which Ross was at. And Ross, make sure you talk. I think you should talk about, because you were at the night he was shot. I think you should talk about how the similarities to that night and to Wednesday with the weather and everything else. And why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
20 years ago to the day, I was living on Buena Vista near Thornton. And that was 3 blocks from the Ramada Inn. I heard the call go down. My son and I jumped in my car. We flew there. I remember the first person I came across was a motor officer, Randy Lloyd, who was down, crashed his bike on the railroad tracks because it had just started to rain.
They're very slippery.
They were slippery, and he was trying to get his motorbike back up with 2 broken legs and a broken wrist. And I went to help him. And he said, "Ross, go shoot pictures." Well, we got there, and the scene was very hectic. You had officers down. They were rolling paramedics for 2 officers down. We got a shooter somewhere around. So they kind of got the media on the other side of the railroad tracks and hurdled them together. I was out there all night long it was a very big crime scene. Well, if you want to know more about the Matthew Pavelka story, there's a lot online. You can go to.
Yeah, it's well documented.
Quite well documented. They found one of the Vineland boys who had gone to Mexico, and with the aid of several law enforcement, they brought him back. I believe it was on Thanksgiving. Brought one of the suspects back, and that was a real trying time for Burbank. First time we had lost an officer in many.
Well, since the 60s, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like 40 years.
And 20 years.
And even then, that was in a traffic accident. That was not a...
Wasn't an officer
yeah.
shooting. So 20 years blows by so fast. The ceremony that they did last Wednesday was real touching. Many of the officers that worked with Matt out of retirement came back for the event. Almost all the department was there. The Baker to Vegas running team were there, and they planned on running. They had a flyby by Air One that was very touching. They had bagpipes and the drum corps there. Our supervisor, Karen Barger, gave the flag salute. Matthew Pavelka's parents and family uncovered a plaque it was on myburbank.com if you want to see what the writing was for the donators.
You had some great pictures on there, too. People should go look at our site and see the pictures.
Yeah, they're really, it was a well-written story. They, in fact, had Mike Davis, who was a fire chief at the time. They had the police chief, Tom Hopeful was there. Tim Steer was there. I mean, these officers I haven't seen in 10, 15 years. And then it was very short, very sweet, and it was just amazing. It rained, as I said, 20 years ago to the day. And last week at the ceremony, it was raining exactly like it was 20 years ago. We all had umbrellas. We were all, it's no fun to shoot in the rain. But I will say his fellow officers, and one of the things that they do every year, they wear their dress blues. Fire department wears their dress blues. They're Class A. I guess not dress blues, but Class A uniform. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah.
That means long sleeve
Dress
ties.
uniform. Yeah.
Yeah, it's their formal uniform.
Formal uniform. They were out there. And then the team that runs the Baker Vegas ran from the ceremony last week in the rain up all the way to the police station in memory of Matt. So,
You have pictures of that too.
yep, there's a scholarship in memory of Matt that will go to a law enforcement officer's son or daughter. And this last year, it just so happened to be one of the Embleton's daughters, and her dad was a pilot in Air One the other day when he paid this the
Is
tribute.
there a website or anything somebody can go to?
I believe the foundation, Burbank Police Foundation.org, and there's all the other scholarships that they do. So it was a rather moving day, and like I said, with it being raining already, pretty moving. And there's a great story, like I said, on myburbank.com, and pictures from last week. So Matthew, we are always thinking of you. You were only on the department for 10 months, but everybody, you were that bright redheaded kid.
The big
And everybody
smile.
loved it. Yep, with a big smile.
Good kid.
Yeah, let's point out too, he did nothing against around policy. He didn't, even though he's only been there 10 months, he did everything by the book the way it should have
He
been
was
done.
just backing up Greg
and they
Campbell.
were ambushed.
Yep, and it says that in the story. Our writer, that's a new writer that wrote for us, and he did some good research on that night.
Yeah, I remember the night well. I was working for another agency at the time, but I remember at the time, I think my beeper went off or my pager alert, and I was reading the updates that one officer was down in Burbank and then a second officer, and I was trying to get more details, but I've since learned many details of that night, which I don't necessarily care to remember, but I do remember Randy Lloyd on 2 broken ankles was directing traffic at that intersection.
Yep.
For hours in the rain. Talk about how far adrenaline will take you. But he was in a wheelchair at the funeral. I did attend the funeral, brought a couple of coworkers from my department up there and attended the funeral and knew Greg. There were 2 officers shot. Greg was shot
Campbell.
first on a traffic stop behind the Ramada. And Matthew went to back him up and was ambushed after he neutralized the initial shooter, but he didn't know the second one was there. But you're welcome to research the details if you like. But good kid, struck down way too young. Not that there's an age appropriate for
And it's
that to
just
happen to
amazing.
anybody. But very sad. But I'll have to go visit the park now. Unfortunately, I was out of town for the ceremony. I certainly would have been there.
Well, and he was a military police officer, and his dad was a LAPD detective. And his dad, he always wanted to be a police officer. His dad and mom tell the story all the time. And his dad said, go to a safe department. There's never any crime and shootings in Burbank. It's a lot safer than if you go to work for LAPD and where you might end up. And it just, his dad lives with that all his life. And I know them quite well. They were there the other day. His cousins and brothers were there. So,
And that entire thing took years to actually resolve. They had the suspect fled to Mexico. They were able to bring him back. They tried him. He's now in prison.
prison living, serving a life sentence without chance of parole.
And it also brought down a Burbank mayor who
Right.
had ties.
With that
Her
thing.
boyfriend had ties to that gang. I won't even say the gang's name to give them that publicity, but there was a lot of fallout over the next few years about that entire incident. So,
And I don't think most, people don't get to know some of the other things. Matt Pavelka's locker is still in their locker room, with his ID on it and everything. And it's a reminder to,
I know that in the New York Yankees still have Thurman Munson's locker in their locker room.
Yeah, so they basically retired his locker, but it's a constant reminder for officers that this can happen. It can happen here as quiet as Burbank can get. There are no walls, no fences. Anything can come through. Anything can happen anytime.
Anything can
You
happen
have to
anywhere.
remember that.
We like to think we are this little sleepy community, but if you look at our police arrest reports, I would say easily 80%, if not more, people that are arrested are not Burbank residents.
Right.
People in Burbank really don't do crime here, but it's people from the outside all come to Burbank thinking we're easy pickings, and we're really not.
And did you mention where the park is so people can go visit?
It's actually on the south side of the freeway. It's right next to where there is a sculpture called the Defender, and it's right next to that.
If you go by Johnny
we're not going to
Carson,
mention what
No,
other
if
things
it's-
could be.
you go down by Johnny Carson Park
on the
and go under the freeway,
right.
to
And
the Riverside side.
for those of you who've
is
been
that
there,
portion of the park over
those
there.
of you who've been recently, it's where they had the water and power fences were on Riverside. It's right across from that. Now it's going to be a dog park, so it's right across the street from where that location is. So yeah, it's on Riverside Drive. Do not go up Bob Hope
The
Drive.
Riverside and Bob Hope.
Yeah, and I know some families paid money that to put in the flagpole. The city Parks and Rec helped them out. The electrical department to get power out there constantly. Michael Hastings did a fantastic. The ceremony, I got to give Mike a pat on the back. It was short and sweet. He said it's going to be 30 minutes. I think it was 32. And we were done and out of there. And John Rosati also spearheaded that. The Board of Realtors gave them $500 quite a bit of money, along with some local residents. So stop by and, Matthew Pavelka deserves you knowing where it is.
And if you happen to have some flowers you can drop off, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yep. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. That's a depressing stuff. But it's depressing, but we did a great job. So we haven't forgotten, and we're celebrating. So
we will never
no
forget Matthew Pavelka.
And in all honesty, the other officers who gave their lives also, they still have a ceremony for them on the anniversary of their end of watch also. And even that's some of those are 60 years old, but they still have, and in their museum they have a tribute to them also. So, have you ever been to the museum there? It's the Fire and Police Museum at the headquarters. Very interesting and some really neat stuff in there, of the history of Burbank. It's probably only second to the Historical Society as far as, having a lot of neat stuff,
But it's specific to the police and fire department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And now to your favorite committee.
Well,
or commission.
the police commission had a meeting. 3 items on their agenda, and all 3 were, well, thank you very much. Nothing to report to the council, nothing to recommend to the city council, nothing to, policy change to the police department.
But wait a minute, I want a drum roll. I want.
Wait a second, we have that for you.
Oh, Craig, you didn't know about this, did you?
No, I've heard it from last week's. I listened to last week's podcast.
The police
drum roll,
commission,
by the way.
the police commission did have 3 reports. One of them was on mail fraud.
Yep,
mail theft.
Mail theft, not
Mail
fraud.
theft, and they did not make a recommendation to the council, but having them put it on their agenda, the police department has now on their webpage
A flyer.
It's something.
Some tips. Some tips.
We got to give them credit for
There's
getting it on their website.
on their flyer, on the police website.
But it's there. And if you watch that meeting, you did not know that the federal agencies, post office, don't take reports.
Care. No, they take reports.
Well, they do,
They
but
don't take reports on single incidents. They just don't care. It's got to be a multi,
Big stuff.
Yeah, only the big stuff. So if you get things stolen out of your mailbox, things like, don't call the post office because they just don't care.
Call the police; they'll take a theft report.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to.
And by the way,
Or it can be a burglary report,
right?
If they come into an apartment building
they said
a bunch of the.
They said last year there was only 17 reports made, so it's not a huge
I thought
problem.
that seemed really, really low. Because
Well,
in my old apartment, that was one day. One apartment building was 17.
We once had my Burbank check stolen out of the mailbox in Tuke Lake Post Office, and one of the things I did was I went into the post office to make a complaint. They said, it happens all the time.
Well, but we have had more recently, and our commissioner, Romick, brought it up because his office is right there at the Chamber of Commerce. We did not get paid from the Chamber for months. And I kept calling and going,
and Ross's landlord kept calling him. Where's that check?
You guys tell me that you paid us, and we haven't gotten it, and they argued with me. Well, and then one day she called and sent me a copy of that check, and it was not endorsed by me.
Nope.
And it didn't have our endorsement stamp. And we learned the P.O. box right outside the chamber where she put it.
Mailbox, not the P.O.
Mailbox. I'm sorry, you're correct. The post office box.
Went fishing. They went fishing in there, and look
then
what they
somebody
caught.
across the street, who is also a chamber member, one day was talking to the chamber and said, "We had some mail stolen, and we put it in this box. You guys have cameras looking at this box." Well, sure as shit enough, that's the box that somebody's been hitting on a regular basis.
Well, I hear the box at Magnolia and Griffith Park gets hit a lot.
Yep.
I've had people actually send us,
So we were a victim of the crime of somebody endorsing a check for.
But did the chamber report it to the police department?
Yes,
No?
they did. I went in. Don't you recall? I had to sign an affidavit that we never received that money.
Did they have to do a police report?
Yes, they did.
Police? Good.
And the bank did the full follow up. So it's a crime that, you know what, folks? I always say these are crimes of opportunity. And if you watched how they do it, it's just, it'll blow you away.
The actually showed a video of a guy.
Well, yeah, but I don't want people to go and.
You don't tell them how he did it?
No.
Even though the police department gave him a step-by-step video?
Tutorials,
No
please.
tutorial. It's all right, like burglars carry screwdrivers in their socks and people can't see it. But
No, but the fishing is one thing where they string with gum or something on it. They slip down into the blue mailboxes and pull something out.
Yeah, and they've
or they can go in an apartment building and break into a whole
bank
of
and what
of
they try to
mailboxes.
do is they'll take a check and they'll wash it, what they call wash it.
Yeah.
They'll either add a number to it, or like in our case, we don't know how much it was deposited for.
Yeah, make a $100 check into a
please
$700
don't
check.
ever make a check out to cash.
Yeah, and
Well,
Never
but they also,
cash, but
you know what they also pointed out, Craig, was gift cards. When people send these Visa cards that are worth cash to relatives, oh, go buy your, a new sweater. Here it is. That's what they're trying to. And there's
there are actually a lot of scams out there, usually on the telephone or by email, where they'll pretend to be a government agency or something, the FBI. You owe, $5,000 in back taxes. We're going to put an arrest warrant out for you if you don't send us $1,000 in Macy's gift cards.
There you go.
But I can't tell you, a lot of people fall for it.
My
because
mother-
they'll go and get the gift cards.
And you know what? The elderly, my mom,
Yep. Mostly the elderly.
she got a call that my niece was in jail.
Yep.
And they had my niece's voice, and my mother panicked and didn't tell anybody she was going to wire the money.
Well, they get caught off guard. They think it's the voice of their daughter, grandchild, whatever, and all they'll have you do is they don't want the gift card. They want you to go get them and then give them the numbers.
Yep.
And then in the wind. They're in the wind.
So there's your
No
safety.
government agency is ever going to ask you for payment in gift cards. Trust me.
Yeah.
And
Trust me.
And also, I think no law enforcement agency is ever going to call you and demand money. The same with Burbank Water and Power. That's a normal scam. They are not going to tell you, we're going to come turn your power off today unless you give us that money. They do not operate that way. Especially, people are very vulnerable during the holiday season.
Yes.
And we're coming up to the holiday season.
We're here.
We can
It's
almost do
here.
a whole show.
Yeah, that's
Your wallets, your purses going into buying your Thanksgiving groceries. I mean, there is just a ton of scams that.
Tis the season.
years ago, I haven't written a check in years because it's all digital to me. And then,
I thought you said you were going to say you didn't know how.
then they also, I did go to Burbank schools, remember? Then also, I actually have stopped even carrying credit cards to a point with me. It's all on my phone. I pick the credit card on my phone. I put my fingerprint in, and it gets paid to my credit card through the phone. So that way, I'm not giving somebody a credit card that they can through.
Well, one of our
Just don't lose
advertisers.
your phone.
Well, they have to get into it somehow.
No, I'm saying don't lose your phone.
yes.
You won't be able to buy anything.
One of our
Well, I
one
have
of
my
our
fingerprint.
advertisers, Media City Credit Union, they had an article. If you go on my Burbank and do a little search there on ways, because they know their customers are getting hit left and right
Yeah.
with these different scams.
You know
Well,
what?
everybody's distracted over the holidays. Emotions are high. People are busy running around.
But you
There's
know
a lot
what?
of money being spent, so they're much more vulnerable to these kind of scams.
Knowing, we're all Burbank people, been there for a long time. Burbank people are pretty trusting to start with, and we don't think about the bad things that can happen. We really don't. You know, we think that everybody's honest and everybody's forthright. Not the
Who's
case.
we?
Well, I'm talking about the average homeowner.
The
Well,
general,
okay, I'll admit, I will admit, the other day, I took off to go work on holiday in the park. I took out 2 trips to my car, got in my car, and left and came home 12 hours later. My back door was wide open. Wide open.
Did you leave it open or don't remember?
I panicked at the time.
Yeah.
I walked in very cautiously. My dog was in her crate. There was another pile that I was going to grab that was sitting right next to the door that I never took with me. And I had to think there. I checked every room. I checked my lock, where stuff was. Nothing was moved. But talk about really feeling, I said to myself, we live in a safe community. But I'll tell you, your brain gets busy. I left my back door open the whole day and all night. Thank goodness it's not easy accessible that you could just walk off the street. But it blew me away that
And I'm glad my refrigerator beeps after a while if I leave the refrigerator door open because I do that all the
do that
time.
too, and I get it alerted on my phone too.
Yeah. Yep.
You guys with your electronics, I wish I.
It's a refrigerator. Oh, you
I'll
still have
take-
an ice box, don't you?
Yes, I do. But you know what? I'll tell you,
I delivered a big block of ice. You kind of stick in the bottom, and
I was really embarrassed when I walked home the other day, and I had to think about it. But
You have your shorts on?
I'll tell you, I couldn't believe that I did that. I turned to my dog 3 times, and I said, "Why didn't you tell me I left the door open?" You know,
I'm going to tell you a little secret that as a coach, I used to use in baseball all the time. The human brain can only think of one thing at a time. It's impossible to think of more than one thing. So I used to always ask the kids, I'd say, okay, I want you to think of a pink elephant. Get that in your mind. Think of a pink elephant.
Okay, let's do it. An exercise together.
There we go. Think of that pink elephant. Get it in your mind. There it is.
Thinking? You thinking? Okay.
And then when everybody's thinking about it, and they got the eyes closed, and they're thinking pink elephant, and they're thinking, how stupid is this? But I'm thinking pink elephant. I would ask them, okay, now answer out loud. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Pink elephant.
And they'd all yell, their answers, cereal, eggs, all those things. I go, when you said that, why weren't you thinking of the pink elephant then? And they learn you can only think of one thing. So you can't worry about, when you get and you had holiday in the park and you were one of the board members and one of the guys running it, and that was on your mind. So you can't remember everything. So when people do make those mistakes, it's not because they're just not responsible. It's because sometimes there's more on your mind.
Not as good at multitasking as we think we are.
Yeah, and
But now I've got nothing but pink elephants on my mind.
there you go.
that's funny because you guys are thinking of pink elephants, and I was thinking of a yellow one.
Well, you're colorblind.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Or do you have to go to the bathroom again? Oh,
So moving on.
Moving
We
on.
kind of covered Thursday already.
Well, yeah, that's what we combine that.
We did combine.
I've had enough of the.
ooh, big wrap up. Big
I
wrap
love the
up for
school board.
Friday.
But by the way, one final wrap on the school board.
Oh boy.
I got an email from the superintendent, John Paramo, who wants to go out and meet with us and talk and sound like a very good, send me a great email, and more than willing to go out and we'll have a conversation with him. And I appreciate that, and I think he's trying to solve some problems.
Well, you and I
the
talked
past
about it.
administration.
He came to us. He has some new administrators.
Yeah.
He
He just brought
Oscar?
back Oscar Macias, which
exactly.
I'm thrilled
Oscar
about.
is on board now, and I think I have been told by other sources outside of that give him a couple of months for him to spread his wings, and I think one of them is he wants to have open communications with the media, and we are the media in town.
Well, he's responded to me every time I send him an email. I'm hoping that it's a prosperous meeting. I know that, and as much as they want to blame the school boards, that this was not this school board that brought in the last superintendent. But the last superintendent had never spent a day in a classroom his entire career. Never had been an administrator his entire career, and suddenly he was a superintendent of Burbank schools. So if things went a little bit to the left, you blame a former board. I don't blame the superintendent because he did what he thought was probably right. But that board who brought somebody with no experience kind of set us on a bad path. Now they're all out, they're gone. We have a new superintendent who does have experience in the classroom, who's been a principal of schools. So we're going to give him an opportunity, and I appreciate him reaching out, and we're going to try to work with him. And I think that's the best for everybody, because they have that bond measure coming up, and we'll talk about that too. So, okay, moving on to
Friday.
Oh, it's a Friday. Last week was a busy week.
Well, we're 50 minutes in, and this was going to be a half-hour show.
Yeah, well, don't worry. Next week's going to make up for it.
Right? Here we go.
So Friday night was the big event in Burbank that everybody waits for year in, year out. And I think, Ross, you said around 30,000 people maybe were there. We're talking about Holiday in the Park, which was many new, once again, bigger and better. Many new things they didn't have in the past. Starting with a street shutdown at 8 a.m. instead of at 4 p.m.
Noon,
or noon or whatever.
Noon.
So I thought it was organized very well. It was run very well. I did not talk to anybody there who did not enjoy the night. In fact, by the way, thank you to all the people who walked up and said, "Hey, listen to the podcast," or and I was kind of blown away. I'm going, really? Did people actually listen to this thing? I go, what's wrong with you?
Everybody thought they were going to meet me.
Yeah,
exactly. I wasn't there.
Yeah,
well, we did have a couple of our sports writers.
Yeah, they were there.
Excellent.
They were there.
We were represented.
I didn't see any city officials, but
yeah, they were there.
Well, I didn't. Nobody walked by the table and said hi. But
you might have been busy talking to somebody, but they were there.
Well, they probably saw me and said, "I'm staying away from that guy." But
I did see our assistant city attorney,
city manager. You mean?
No, city attorney.
Our assistant city attorney.
Yes, Jill Vanderfort was standing.
Well, she actually
a good 12 feet away from you. I saw.
No, she was there with her husband.
Yeah, I know. I have a picture.
And we talked.
Her 10 feet away from you.
Well, she was. Yeah.
I have a picture to prove it.
So I sense a recap coming.
So Ross, why don't you run down the event for us? Why don't you put those 3 hours in the next 5 minutes?
Oh, good luck.
Well, we did start off a little earlier this year. We had a lot more things that we had to accomplish. Thank goodness that a lot of people don't realize there's only 5 or 6 of us on the whole committee that makes this event go by. And Ashley Erickson, we had hired at Magnolia Park Merchants, hired her to produce this show or this event. And she is a great event planner. She did a great job. There are a lot of things that go on. You got to deal with city, got to deal with closing the street, got to deal with health inspectors. You got to worry about where the porta potties are going to go. You got to worry about, the list goes on and goes on. But I will tell you, the best part of the whole night, and I have done this now for, 10 years, seeing all the smiling faces, the kids, posing in front of the antique police car, the people that kept asking me, where are the antique cars? And I had to say, just walk west. The kids that went on stage, our city PIO's daughter was on stage, and I got to run into Jonathan and his wife.
Yeah, he actually came by and said hi, and got to meet his daughter.
There's a city official.
That's right. That's a city official.
And
he actually wanted to talk to me.
Yeah, I know. You guys talked a little baseball.
Go Diamondbacks for him. Yeah, he's a big Diamondbacks fan.
I know. But, the event, I tell you, people say, well, how did you get those numbers? Our assistant city manager, our new assistant city manager, who used to be the police administrator, she's real good with numbers. And I asked her, standing next to the chief, how many people were here, and she said, I'd say about 25 to 30,000. And that's what I drove by in that golf cart or that little machine I was riding on.
Lawnmower?
It felt like it. All I know is I kept beeping that horn, and people started hating me.
That thing was about 30 feet off the ground, too, wasn't it?
I'll tell you.
You look like you're on a float.
It was just the drove of people.
Power trip.
I hear 2 food vendors, ran out of food. The hot dog vendor ran out of hot dogs.
Oh.
Portos ran out of cookies.
Oh no!
What?
The humanity.
What? Shut it down.
This year, due to health reasons, and a lot of people are asking why, Portos had to wrap each cookie they gave away. That's why we couldn't have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and a lot of the teams not give out food. It's a LA County Health.
LA County Health. But wouldn't these health rules get? Didn't they have these health rules last year or the year before?
No, these are
all
a
brand
lot
new
of them.
rules.
A lot of them are brand new. We had a health inspector on site at 5 o'clock to check.
And I think, in all honesty, that they need to change these rules to make them a little more flexible for one-night events in situations like this, community events. I mean, ask a booth to spend money on flooring, running water, and everything else they needed to have to be able to sell a cookie or something.
Well, I get it, but if you think about it, you have an event this big, you have food being made, you don't know where it's made, you don't know the precautions people take. It's just, I get it. We're in that stage
but
now.
Didn't you say earlier what happened about all these street vendors, especially in LA?
But that's where
they have tacos on the corner and just had to set up their little kitchen on the corner.
on every corner.
Yeah, I where's the health department out there to cite them?
I agree. Some of the things that we learned and people have already told us, I understand that the driving down Clark or driving down Chandler was an animal, that we will bring that up. People don't understand to hire a traffic engineer who works the lights at intersections via computer. He doesn't do that free. This event cost us $98,000 to put on. $98,000 that we raised to put it on, folks.
And the city only gave you a third of that, right?
Yes, they paid for a lot of the safety. Our police department.
That's only a third of it.
That's right. So people, when you understand how you have to do things, but I can tell you, next year's going to go on. We're going to start our committee meetings come February. I hear that there will be a Ferris wheel back. I hear there will be hot chocolate.
Do we have breaking news? The Ferris wheel will make a return? We have breaking news.
Sound like that bear.
Sounds like you're trying to start your engine the other day.
Well, I got to say, that's in fact he asked for.
That was supposed to be a teletype.
That is a teletype.
Oh. But no.
What you asked for.
A Ferris wheel making a return.
We hope we will have the Ferris wheel next year.
Yep.
Instead of the crushed snow that is so unsafe. But we might extend it a block or two. We're going to get more food trucks. The person who's going to be running it says he believes in more food trucks. So I just found out. I wonder if people knew Morrison's has a food truck.
What?
They asked me today. Patty asked me, how do we get involved? Morrison's was slammed from the crowd that was leaving Holiday in the Park going down to Morrison's.
Well, I'll give you a personal suggestion right now. I know you want to extend a little farther down, but let's face it, once you hit Catalina, you really don't have any businesses that are really public businesses. Why not extend it down toward Pass Avenue and still let Hollywood Way be through traffic and have police there and wave people across at the signals?
Because Hollywood Way is considered a major thoroughfare.
Right, I'm not saying close.
It's a big intersection.
I didn't say close Hollywood. I just said
it would be too hard. It's right like closing all.
To do traffic control, it's a big intersection to.
Well, we could go east. The car show.
There's a lot of businesses.
But there's a car show that can go a block east. The church there. Okay. We had complaints. We get. You wouldn't believe the complaints. To support the
businesses. That'd be nice to support the businesses down Hollywood Way a little farther.
Well, like quite a few of them.
Or not Hollywood Way, I'm talking about Magnolia a little farther.
Quite a few of them, like Gary Dance Studio, came in and used Worship Walk Church for their kids to perform.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what's going on because we heard that a lot of people are to watch, but they ended about 7:30, and then that was it. They closed the place down.
Well, that they most of those kids that dance, Gary Dance Studio, are pretty young. That's why. Right. Then we had another stage that was in the B of A parking lot that I hear Clint Howard, his daughter,
Oh, she had to
performed there.
play, huh? We had that podcast and he was talking about it. He's like,
She performed,
yep.
and even Clint Howard got on stage and spoke.
There you go.
We had Tim Conway Jr. show up, the ex-official of
The ex-official?
the ex-official mayor of Magnolia Park.
Oh, he's no longer the official mayor?
Well, I make him the official mayor.
Okay.
So you know what? We'll see you next year. Everybody, it kicks off the holiday spirit, and I will say that,
I thought it was very well done. I thought, congratulations to Ashley, to you and your board. I thought it was very professionally run. I thought I heard not one complaint, and trust me, everybody would come to me and complain if there was a complaint.
If people only knew what went into organizing something like this.
Well,
We've had a little bit of a behind the scenes look along the way here.
When did you finally get your permit to run this thing?
Tomorrow.
When did the city actually issue the permit?
Thursday at 6 in the morning.
Thursday at 6 in the morning.
And the event was when?
Friday at
6
noon.
So 18 hours, 30 hours before the event, they got their permit.
Plenty of time.
Going to be all worked out, we're told, by next year.
I missed a lot this week. Being out of town 1 week, look how much I missed.
Yeah,
A
but
whole hour's worth.
But you got to see the bears.
I got to see what the polar bears.
The
I
bears.
identify as a polar bear.
A bear.
Well,
okay. Well, I think that's it for the week that was. I think we'll now pause for a quick break, and we're going to be back with you in about 30 seconds.
Have you been thinking about putting an ADU or auxiliary dwelling unit on your property? How about finally adding a room or even remodeling? Brennan Construction here in Burbank is ready to serve you. They can handle architectural plans, engineering plans, designs, and more. The owner is not only a lifelong resident of Burbank, but a proud graduate of Burbank High School. Call Brennan Construction at 818-624-0711. That's 818-624-0711, or check out their ad on myburbank.com.
Okay. Here we are back with you again.
Oh, the
Frank
mics are up.
Sherwood.
wait a minute.
The mics are up. Mics are hot.
Who printed this scam schedule out? When do we flip pages? I don't know. Now I don't know. Are we on page 2 of 3 or 3 or 5?
When do we start
What's going on here?
We have two-sided pages. You mean when do we start trying to actually save paper, do our part for the planet,
is that
in the
what we're-
recycling center, and not wasting 300 sheets of paper?
Well, that's pretty funny because when we have 8 pages and we do 3 sets of,
Well, it's
Because
great.
we have to print it so big so we can actually read
We got the new printer, and I didn't realize the printer automatically prints on 2 sides instead of 1. Which
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Anyhow, Craig Sherwood back with you with Craig Durling,
Welcome back.
and of course Ross Benson, and we're back with you for the week
I'm
that
going to say
will
something,
be.
Rob.
oh, that's right. Wait a minute. I put the hat on and I'm supposed to say something at the
Oh
same
my
time.
God, he looks like a clown.
Oh, look at you. Talk about multitasking.
Wow, that's difficult. Plus,
I like it.
I can drink.
Yeah, see, I took the label off the water, so you have no idea if that's really
Well,
water.
they're not a sponsor.
It
so.
could be water. It could be something else.
Oh,
Um,
any guesses out there? Should have a contest for that.
Well, we want to thank. By the way, last week's winner of the word Ferris wheel was Jonathan Archer. Which Jonathan, please send us your address, and we'll be glad to send
Jonathan
your
Archer.
gift card to you.
What was? Do you remember what the word of the
I
week
said
was?
Ferris wheel.
Oh, Ferris wheel. That's 2 words.
Well, it's
Unless you hyphenate
it
it.
could be hyphenated.
Could be hyphenated.
So
All right, Jonathan. He's going to buy us lunch at
we
Hill Street.
still have a word hasn't been spoken yet. So when we hear
You got to stay
hear
tuned
the alert, you never know when that word's going to be said,
for this week's word of the week.
but it will be here eventually.
It'll come.
somewhere.
What? Huh?
Oh, but not till for a couple more.
You don't know.
You never know. You have
Could
to
be
listen.
now. It could be later.
And what do they get if they get the word?
Again, it's a
Turkey dinner.
$25 certificate to Hill Street Cafe.
Very nice. Very nice. And
And
we'll give you instructions
and if you
once
use-
the word is
If you
revealed.
use it on Monday, you can get their amazing tomato bisque soup,
Ooh, homemade
homemade,
and all everything. The
or
dressings, everything.
restaurant made.
Well, yeah.
The health
Restaurant made.
The health department would probably come and slap them if they made it at home.
Never know.
Yeah.
You never know. All right, Monday.
Monday. Well, today,
Today, the
That was-
20th.
The Transportation Committee met at 5 p.m. And they reviewed the 23-24 Burbank bus figures coming up. They also saw that money coming in was they were getting $2.6 million from Prop A, $2.9 million from Prop C, and $677,000 from Measure R. In their budget for the 22-23 year was $6,350,000 they received. Now, I think that equals what? $580 per rider or we spend or something? Why don't we just buy people limos and drive them around when they want to go somewhere?
And who said you weren't good at math?
Yeah.
He didn't even take his shoes off.
Right? Oh, thank goodness.
You would have
You got an
cats
abacus.
and dogs living together.
Right? Mass hysteria.
The buses they drive around in are these massive buses. You look at these little the Metro, what do they call the
Metro
Minis,
Okay.
and they probably seat 15 people or so. Why don't we get those? Why don't we get smaller buses and run them around
Have you ever seen a full Burbank bus? Have you got to see a full one?
Yeah,
or
you know what?
standing room
What is it,
only?
a comedy
Yes,
hour?
people hanging on to the
Yes, I
straps
have.
and everything.
When they go, I think they use the bus to transport kids to go to a fair or something.
Okay, so for school events, things like that, they do.
No, not for
no,
school.
Oh no.
Some other event. that they
Ross has
did.
no idea what he's talking about. They don't use those buses for anything except
He's
for
making stuff up.
personal limousine service.
Making
Think
stuff
about
up
it.
over there.
They don't use gasoline.
Cricket.
They don't.
Cricket.
Whoa,
Chirp.
wait a second. What is it that
How did we get to that?
what do they use?
Are we supposed to be hearing
I
something?
thought we were waiting for
You
a
said
sound
they don't
effect or
use
something.
gasoline.
They don't use gasoline.
What do they use?
Natural gas.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, because they got to go to that special station
Okay.
on Lake Street to fill up.
Oh, okay. Wait.
CNG.
CNG. There you go. CNG.
Which stands for?
Something
confused
natural
with
gas.
LPG.
You see it and you go, G.
See?
Compressed natural gas.
Compressed.
And then there's
Wow.
LPG. Liquid petroleum
Loss
gas.
prevention.
No, see? You see, you
Well, look at that. We're
think you
doing,
know you're
aren't we doing a great job of informing the community tonight? We're all lost.
67 minutes in and we've gone off the rails.
Well, the point being is that they claimed in September 15,000 people rode Burbank bus.
Now, is that wait? Is that how many rode it, or is that how many they passed?
Well, yeah.
Does that include the drivers?
I'm sorry. 50. Once again, every pre-production meeting, we sit at Patty's restaurant, which we love to do.
We
We're
bus,
there-
bus spot.
We're there from like 7 to 8:30 or in that area for an hour and a half. We see probably 5-6 Burbank buses.
Today
drive
he
by.
stopped across the street so we didn't have to count the people inside with it moving.
Yeah, well, it's hard. It's hard to count past one
When
anyway.
it's moving, it looks like more.
I mean, we're lucky if we see 3 people on a bus out of 6 buses go by. Now, how they get 15,000? Maybe it's in the more. I don't know, but we need smaller buses. We need to spend less money on them. We need to get trolleys.
Where's the trolley?
Ding ding.
Where's the trolley?
Up in San Francisco.
No, I had an idea for a trolley that I gave away a long time ago,
Well,
and I'm still waiting for
didn't
it.
Bob Frutos make that his idea?
Well, he tried to, but
Yeah.
who was the original on that
Well,
one?
Ross wanted to have trolleys in Burbank.
Are you on
Going
the
up?
Are you on the record?
Oh yeah,
Let's
I've
get
put
that
him on the record in the past.
You did.
Oh, I have.
Mm.
And
Look at. You've ever heard of that car place over there on Empire? What's the name of it? That does all those fancy cars.
Oh, West Coast.
Oh, that's the place. West Coast
West Coast
Customs.
custom trolleys.
Let's give him some money.
or how about the guy that does the police wrapping?
Well, but he only wraps.
Well, that's all you do is you build.
Well, no,
you
let's
can
get
buy the trolleys anywhere.
let's get what's his name to build a trolley, CNG or whatever our new gas is. But I've said, who wouldn't want to sit next to Daffy Duck
Well,
or
see,
who?
you already got ahead of yourself. So we get the trolleys, Magnolia, different areas of the city, have them go back and forth, and then your idea was to contact in the media capital of the world. We have Disney, we have Warner's, And we, to a point, have Universal
What about Nickelodeon?
and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network.
Thank you. The list
Yeah,
goes
we have all the
on.
DC characters and Warner Brothers.
Now we have Sphere,
and
MGM Sphere.
they don't have cartoon characters.
Well, we could put their dome on top.
Well, wouldn't that be special?
But no, wouldn't people want to pose,
But then
Craig?
you have
What happened?
each trolley would have its own theme character, and people would come from all over and say, "Hey, I want to ride on the Mickey Mouse trolley. I want to ride on
Well,
the."
then they won't go to
the Superman
Disneyland and spend $100 to park
They can ride on the Superman trolley.
and take the trolley into the
But
park.
we got now, I don't know if you caught last week's show. They're going to put another statue in town.
Right.
You know,
I
we
did know
got
that.
we got Wonder Woman. No, we got
Wonder Woman.
Wonder
And
Woman.
we have the Batman.
We got Batman.
It's going to be the
Green
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Not Superman. Not somebody famous. Just Green Lantern.
Well, why couldn't we make a trolley
Going to
with?
have a lantern. Going to have a light, like a green light.
How about Aquaman? They're pretty big movie out for Aquaman.
Put him in the pool.
Why not? Why not have an Aquaman statue and put that at the same time and release the movie? Like don't you ever notice in Hollywood Boulevard, anytime somebody's big movie comes out, that star is all of a sudden putting his hands in the cement or whatever, or having a star made, or they always coincide it with the release of a big movie. Well, how about releasing a statue? And
Marketing.
Why? Oh, there you go. Who wouldn't want to come
Marketing.
to Burbank and take the trolley around Burbank and then pose with, SpongeBob?
Are there any city tours?
No,
People come and take a city tour
Tim
of.
Conway wanted to start one.
Actually, call now. Call often. Keep it calling. You call Ross Benson. He'll be glad to take you on a personalized tour of the city of Burbank and tell you all the stuff that used to go on here.
How many writers have we had? I have taken city officials, I have taken writers, and given them the Ross Benson tour.
Just call 818 Benson. There you go.
Oh, whoever has
he
that
thought I was going to
number.
give his phone number out just then. I saw that look of panic.
I just turned. I think I was flushed.
Our producer wasn't ready on the trigger on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was actually looking at the notes like we had to do.
Don't
a
do
show.
that again, or I'm
All
going to
right.
have to depart the room.
Speaking of that,
Well,
What page are we on?
we only
there's
have
only
two.
3. So, the city council on Tuesday is dark. No more meetings this month.
What?
Although Steve Ferguson wants 3 city council members to get together and call a special meeting.
That's right. 3 can't get together, can they?
No, 3 cannot get together.
Well, when you play poker, how many guys do you have to have?
5.
Maybe that's why you can only have. I don't forget it. How about
So no city council on the 21st.
How about Kachizi? Fish? We ain't playing cards no more.
Turn his mic off. Lost it.
Well,
Gotta get the short bus for you.
Craig doesn't know what page we're on. He's lost.
He's throwing papers
Wait a
around
minute, wait a minute.
everywhere.
moving to Wednesday, we have absolutely nothing.
But you know what we have Thursday?
We're going to cancel Wednesday.
You know what we have Thursday?
I believe
Wait
it's
a
our.
minute. Wait a minute.
Wait.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
We're going to have a.
What are you going to have with your?
What is a popular side dish?
I can't get this
Number
one up.
one, we're going to have
Happening.
Thanksgiving, and we're going to have a great Thanksgiving.
Well, my
dinner.
granddaughters have already requested olives
Okay.
for every figure. I got 3 cans of olives for my granddaughters.
Weird.
Right, Craig? You've been to
Weird
my
kids.
house
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving. They get
Anytime.
cranberries.
Anytime.
They get
Stuffing. There's
stuffing.
stuffing. Mashed potatoes.
Mashed
my son's make-
potatoes, maybe some yams.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
candied
Oh, yams is great.
with the marshmallows on top.
And pumpkin pie at the end.
Oh,
Oh,
unbelievable.
my granddaughter. She already told me. I said, "Do you like pumpkin pie?" She said, "No, I don't like it." I said, "What if it has whipped cream on it?" She says, "I like pumpkin pie."
And she goes, "And you ever tried pumpkin pie?" And I don't know, but I. So,
But you know what my daughter-in-law makes so good.
So what are some of the sides we have with
My
with the meal?
granddaughter, she makes the best cranberry. Oh,
Oh,
Ooh, Yahtzee.
I guess there's a magic
Cranberry.
word. Cranberry.
Cranberry sauce and jelly. We had both.
right.
We had the cranberry jelly that had the whole cranberries in it still, and the sauce, or one or the other.
You know, the
Either way,
can
we had
just sits up right and
both
it's
kinds
like a
of
tower.
thunk, comes out of the can like that.
And then it
We need
becomes
sound effects.
the leaning tower of
No
cranberry.
cranberry jelly.
Oh, cranberry.
But cranberry is
It's our word of the week.
the word of the week.
So email
You
us.
made it this far. You're a rock star. You made it 74 minutes in, but you got it. Cranberry is the word of the week. And what do they do with that information?
Send us an email to contest@myburbank.com and put the word cranberry, and also send your address so we can send you the card, and we will pick a winner, and we will notify you on next week's show of who won.
And that is picked at random, right?
Well, we do take all the entries, and let's say there's 17 entries. I'll go to Alexa. I'll say
A
pick a number
randomizer.
between 1 and 17, and whatever number they pick,
That's it.
that's the winner. They come in the order that they came in.
And you can get yourself a darn good meal or a couple at Hill Street Cafe for
And I bet you,
$25, believe me.
if you go next Thursday, which they're open, they'll have cranberries on there.
Well, not only that, I hear that they're going to have a really special turkey meal though.
Yep.
So
Turkey dinner, hot turkey dinner.
Yeah, hot turkey dinner. In fact, I would actually call them in advance and probably place an order in advance, maybe if you're interested. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people go to Talleyrand, which has a great turkey dinner also. But the people up in the hill, there's an alternative for you. You know,
You don't know.
You know what? I
may not be a lot of waiting either. You might be able to get in and get out
Right.
a lot quicker.
right.
So
Moving
email.
on.
I wonder if
Now-
you already have emails coming in from people watching the live version.
Well, I have to go in and look at the ticker tape.
All right,
Hold on,
we'll find out. We'll find out. Good luck.
I'll see if anything's coming in yet. Now,
Something on the sewing machine? Is that a
so
sewing
far-
machine? What is that?
Well, if you have recovered from the tryptophan already, we got Friday rolling around.
by
The
the
day after the leftovers.
way,
Leftover
they've
day.
actually done scientifically. They say there's no connection between eating turkey and falling asleep.
Yeah, but it's a good excuse.
It's a good excuse. I think the reason you fall asleep is you're just
Right?
full.
I just can't help myself.
You're-
I need a nap.
I need to loosen my belt already.
No, don't do it now. You got in trouble once before. For doing
we
that.
got Black Friday, and then
The
what?
cameras in the joint.
What a great day to go and visit Magnolia Park Merchant somewhere or another store in Burbank, and
Shop local. You got the holidays coming up. Forget Amazon. Shop local.
That's right.
that brings us to the weekend, which is absolutely empty.
Absolutely. It is the holiday season. Things
not-
get
yes.
pretty
Well,
quiet
If
with
they
local
say the
governments.
weather's supposed to be what the weather's the wind, you'll be raking leaves on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, you blow your wig right off your head.
But now is coming after the word of the week, my favorite part of the show.
This is it. This is what people actually have waited now. 77 minutes and
And we
15
don't have a
seconds
jingle
for.
yet for this. Do I have to do it again?
That's a good idea. We need to
Ross's
get a
rant.
jingle.
Ross's rant. Hey, it's Ross's rant.
You know what you
He's got
sound
to
like?
lube up. Wet his whistle.
You sound like Wayne's World.
Whistle. All right, Ross.
Okay, Ross, time for your
Give it
rant.
to us.
Let's have it.
All right. I tell you, my rant this week, I'm driving eastbound Magnolia, go over the Magnolia overpass, continuing up the San Fernando Road. I'm behind a car. The car decides to just stop because the passenger didn't know it was an Uber, didn't know it was one of these ride-sharing vehicles, had let out 3 people to go to the mall in the middle of the lane. My rant is, why do these people just randomly stop? Or here's another one I ran into today, almost. I use Scott Road quite a bit. These Amazon drivers, they just stop in the middle of the
Yeah,
road,
they
jump
stop
out of
in
their
the middle of the
vehicle, and run to a house.
So UPS drivers.
I'll tell you, they're going to get killed. On a little lane like Scott Road, you're going to go around. Yeah, that's suicide coming at you. But I don't get it. Where do they get this permission to just stop randomly in the road?
Yeah, if you or I were to stop in the road,
3 words.
we'd get a ticket.
Lack of enforcement.
Oh, that's it. Yep.
Now, I'll be honest with you. This came up, I want to say 5 or 10 years ago, and I actually went to the police department and I asked, I go, why are delivery trucks allowed to double park in traffic lanes like UPS driver? Back then, there was no Amazon drivers, and they said, well, we allow it, and I go, yeah, but why do you allow it? I don't. The law doesn't say no double parking unless you're driving a brown truck. I mean, you were involved in enforcement.
Yeah.
What do you remember from those days
Yeah.
about when it comes to
Well,
delivery and stuff?
I spent many years specializing in commercial traffic enforcement for trucks, things like that, hazardous materials. But so I dealt with trucks all the time, delivery drivers, and the law actually allowed for delivery vehicles to double park. So whatever lane is next to the parked vehicles, they can stop there to load, unload. What I ran into all the time.
Let me ask you this: what constitutes a delivery vehicle? I mean, can't now an Uber driver bring your food to you? Say, hey, I'm delivering food. So does he legally?
Possibly.
Is he legally allowed to double park?
I would read the section, the California Vehicle Code section again to be sure, see how specific it is. But it might be that loose. You may fall into the category. But what we saw I ran into a lot of the time was especially car carriers, but UPS and delivery trucks, they park in the two-way left turn lane in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
You have the solid line and the dashed line. Well, that's not a parking lane. It's not a median strip, unless those lines are both solid. But it's a turn lane, so people can get in and out of they can exit the traffic to turn left into driveways or garages and or exit a driveway or garage to merge back into traffic. It's not a median strip. It is not a parking lane, a delivery lane. And it does, and Ross, you made a good point, it is dangerous for the drivers because they have to now cross traffic, pop out of the side of a vehicle, maybe in a blind spot for a driver, and now drivers have to negotiate this. That technically is not allowed. That would be it could be fall into a lot of sections, but what I experienced over the years was so many cities don't enforce it because they don't want to deal with commercial traffic. They don't want to deal with trucks. They think they fall under some certain codes that they don't know what to do with. But they fall under anything a car can't do. Many times a delivery truck can't do. But because so many cities choose not to enforce commercial vehicle traffic, then they find themselves in a city where they do enforce it, but now they've built bad habits because, I had 5 police cars pass me in the last city when I was doing the same thing, and they didn't say anything to me. Well, that's
so
lack
annoying.
of enforcement creates these bad habits. So they think, a police car drove by me and didn't say anything. It must be legal, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Must be okay. And then that's why you see what you see with UPS trucks and all that. There are some exemptions here and there. But as a general rule, the lack of enforcement creates the bad habits.
And that's a whole separate subject in itself.
I could do a whole show on
how
that.
many laws do we have in the books that just don't get enforced? And I'll give you a great example. During the pandemic, there were certain laws about wearing masks in businesses and those kind of things, and not having. And the sheriff of LA County says, "We're not going to enforce those laws. We're just not going to enforce them." So now, why could he pick and choose?
Was it a law, though?
Yes, it was.
It was an actual codified law.
Actually, it was an order, a county order.
Okay, that's not a law.
I don't know. It was a county order, but so it was.
Might be an ordinance or something like that.
Tin Horn Flats had to abide by the ordinance, or they got.
But I remember at the time going through it, the interpretation of the mask regulations, recommendations.
Maybe that's a bad
when
example.
It came to enforcement. No, but I get your point. Your point is taken.
There's a law that you can't remove a shopping cart from business premises. But yet, how many homeless people are pushing shopping carts down the street? Who's saying
theft? It's technically that's theft.
A shopping cart costs about $700, and guess who pays for that? Well, that's why your grocery bill went up an extra 40 cents because
paying for.
So why aren't
Rudy Giuliani gets credit for the quote often, the theory, but the broken window theory. Yeah. You let the little things go, and it cascades into bigger and bigger and bigger things start getting ignored. So, and Burbank was always really good at that, was paying attention to the details, those little things, those little quality of life issues. They didn't let those slide because all that does is progress into bigger problems.
Yep.
Years ago, and not to... I actually might have my elbow never healed from patting myself in the back, but Burbank has a lot of ordinances. One of the ordinances was you could not have a newspaper rack on the street in front of a painted curb. It was a Burbank ordinance on the books.
So if you think of Bob's Big Boy, there were 17 racks
around the front, and and half of them were, I get the LA Times or whatever back then. I get it. But half were porn magazines and free magazines, and so I went to the city and I said, "Why are you not enforcing this?" And I started to make a big deal about it. And they made all these companies come out and remove them all. And you know what that was? It removed the blight in a lot of areas. And now you don't see those anymore. Yeah, we have ordinances such they can't have billboards in Burbank. The ones you see were either grandfathered in before the ordinance was passed, or they're on railroad property. The ones on Chandler, that's actually railroad property, not city of Burbank property. So they can't, and that federal trumps city. But,
it's funny because we talked about that prior to the show.
right.
There's a billboard at the corner of
Magnolia
and Clybourne that was turned.
Right. The base of it was in L.A.
Right, but
but it hung over the city of Burbank property line.
Yeah, and there was somebody in Burbank that made them
turn it. Yeah.
So and that is whose property is that?
I don't remember.
It's a famous singer who owns
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, that's right. He owns that, and he collects rent from that billboard.
Oh yeah,
big time. But they had to move it out of Burbank.
How did we get onto that?
Well, I'm just saying,
letting the little things go.
I'm just saying things like that.
Selective enforcement.
Right. You can't have car lots and markets can't have streamers in their parking lots. There's a lot of little that Burbank has, which they pretty much enforce. You can't have you can't put banners up in your store window without a permit. Not in your window, but in front of your business. You can't put temporary. There's a lot of, and we try to, and sometimes that doesn't get enforced so much as it used to. But there's a lot of things like that in Burbank, and like you said, if we don't stay on that stuff, then the city becomes looking like L.A. after a while, which is not why people
Blade Runner
came to Burbank.
Right.
Blade
Escape
Runner.
from L.A. and all that. Yeah.
So
but,
anyhow,
don't stop in the middle of the street, folks.
Not to jump on your rant, Ross, but it's
hijacked his rant.
I think there's a lot of things that we need to always fix. So
pay attention to the little things, Burbank. What keeps it Burbank?
It does.
Yeah.
And for those that have lived here for a long period of time, have pride in our city, who want to see the city, maintain those standards, I get it,
Well, you always hear people say Burbank is different. You visitors that come here, people that move here, there's something different. And it's these little things that make Burbank.
Well, I'm on the school board all the time. I mean, when was the last time a school was named a distinctive school? It used to happen all the time.
Like Hart Elementary?
Yeah, Hart Elementary in Santa Clarita. Oh,
well, guys, I want to say I have a lot to be thankful for this year, and that includes both of you and everybody out there. So, thanks for giving me something to do this year.
Well, we do wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and think about
even who might
poor fella
pay a price for us, but. It's a great holiday because it's not a holiday where you don't have to give out presents. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to do it. It's just a holiday.
It's not a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah, it's a reflection holiday. It's a holiday where family gets together and enjoys the day, basically.
Be grateful. And we went through some trying times.
And there just happens to be football on all day.
And now on Black Friday, too.
The day after.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we went through some really trying times the last couple of years. And be grateful. We live in a fantastic city. I've said it before. I'll say it now, and I'll say it tomorrow. We're real fortunate being here in Burbank. Drive out, if you don't get out much, drive out 10, 50 miles from here, and you'll see why you'll come back to Burbank real fast.
And as an organization, we are certainly thankful for our sponsors.
We're thankful for our sponsors. In fact,
and you'll hear them all listed at the end of the show.
We're so thankful that we're going to give them to you right now.
Give you a shout out.
As we say goodbye for another edition. Ross, thank you for everything.
See you later, alligators.
Craig, thank you once again.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Easy for you to say.
Not easy.
And once again, please do. You know what? And tell our sponsors that you heard them on My Burbank. And that helps us, and they know that supporting us is important. So once again, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of My Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, UME Credit Union, Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Gain Credit Union, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, UCLA Health, Tequila's Burbank, Logix Credit Union, Hill Street Cafe, Bertain Escobar Wealth Management, and the UPS store on 3rd Street. How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? My Burbank Talks is looking for local businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com, and we'll be glad to discuss all the exciting possibilities with you.